Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to dive into the world of home appliances. We're going to decode one of the most common and, honestly, one of the most confusing bits of jargon you'll ever see on a spec sheet.
You know the feeling, right? You're out shopping for a new furnace or an air conditioner, and you're just hit with this wall of numbers and acronyms. It seriously feels like you need an engineering degree just to figure out what to buy.
You see all these specs, but there's one term that just keeps popping up everywhere, on everything from heaters to AC units, and that's BTU. So what is it? And maybe more importantly, why should you even care? Well, that's exactly what we're about to break down. All right, let's crack the code on this whole BTU thing. It stands for British Thermal Unit, which sounds kind of fancy and complicated, but trust me, the idea behind it is actually pretty simple.
And what's really cool about this definition is just how tangible it is. Seriously, think about it. 1 pound of water, that's about 2 cups, right? A single BTU is just the amount of energy it takes to heat that little bit of water up by just 1 degree. It's a really small, precise measure of heat. So here's the takeaway. When you see a BTU rating on an appliance, it's really just a simple way of talking about its power. For a furnace, it's all about its heating power. For an air conditioner, it's the opposite. It's about its cooling power. You know, how much heat it can pull out of a room. And this, right here, is why understanding BTUs is absolutely critical. It's all about sizing. It's like the Goldilocks story. You don't want a system that's too big or one that's too small. You need one that's just right for your home. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the problem. See, if your system is too small, it's just going to run constantly, trying desperately to keep up. That wastes a ton of energy, and you're probably still not even going to be comfortable. But, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, if it's oversized, it'll blast your room with hot or cold air and then shut off really fast. That constant on and off cycling is super inefficient, it puts a lot of wear and tear on the machine, and it does a terrible job of controlling humidity. So either way you go, you're looking at higher energy bills and a home that just doesn't feel right. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this all play out in the real world when you're actually about to spend your hard-earned money on an air conditioner or a heat pump? Well, you'll often hear HVAC pros talk about tons of cooling. That's really just another way of saying BTUs. It's industry lingo. As you can see, 1 ton of cooling capacity is equal to 12,000 BTUs per hour. So if a contractor tells you that you need a 3-ton air conditioner, what they're really saying is you need a 36,000 BTU unit. It's just shorthand. Now look, while you can find those rough BTU estimators online, getting it perfect is really a job for a professional. They don't just guess, they do something called a heat load calculation, and it's pretty detailed. Because it is so much more than just the square footage of your house. A real pro is going to look at everything, your specific local climate, how good or, not so good your insulation is, which way your windows face, even how many people live in the house, and all the heat coming off your kitchen appliances. All of these things add up to determine the exact BTU rating you really need. So after all this, what's the big takeaway here? Well, this knowledge isn't just a bunch of trivia. Think of it as a tool. It's your new superpower as a homeowner. Here's the bottom line. When you actually understand what BTU means, you can have a much smarter conversation with a contractor. You can make sure you're getting equipment that's sized properly for your home, and that directly leads to better energy efficiency, lower bills, and a house that is just consistently, genuinely comfortable. It's a win-win-win. And all this really leaves us with one final thought. The next time you're home, pay attention to your own heating and cooling systems. Does your furnace seem to run forever on a cold day? Does your AC kick on and off every few minutes in the summer? It might be time to ask yourself, are my appliances actually the right size for my home?